I know that I've said that the UF4 Georgievit variant is the most fun modern comic book to cover in comic book news here on the YouTube channel. But I gotta say, there is a whole subgenre of modern comics that are maybe as fun, if not more fun, to talk about than UF4. And of course, the books that I'm referring to are that of Spawn modern variants. Because boy, oh boy, we got another crazy Spawn variant that is hitting the market right now. Spawn 350, the retailer one per store comic book copy, is absolutely blowing up the charts. And I feel like we're only at the beginning. And so in this video, we're going to do a little bit of a market report, talk about this book, talk about store variants, one per store variants exclusively, sort of discuss if they really hold their value. And then later on in the video, I wanted to do a little bit of a check-in on our favorite comic book of all time, the Spawn 306 Nether Realm variant. What happened to the prices here months later from the time when they all got flooded onto the market? But before I get into the video, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Helps support the channel, doing those things. Also, Kickstarter, Sanity, V2, coming out. I think I am officially prepared to say that we will be launching next week. Stay tuned for that, guys. I will give you the official release schedule for when we actually go live, but we are just about there. Still time for you guys to follow the pre-launch page. Go to the link in the description. Now, I don't have the ability to print money like Todd Mcfarlane does. Anytime he signs a book, all of a sudden he generates hundreds of dollars. But you will be able to get signed copies from me for not that expensive. All right, let's get into this video here today. Let's talk about this Spawn 350 exclusive retailer one per store cover variant signed by Todd Mcfarlane himself. Let me give you guys the quick TLDR here from Bleeding Cool. Todd Mcfarlane to sign a copy of Spawn 350 for all comic book stores. This, of course, was an article all the way back in January, earlier this year, but what is significant about me covering it here today is that the comics were set to arrive on March 7th, which means they finally got to all their stores just the other day, and now we're starting to see that movement on the secondary market. But suffice to say, Spawn, record-breaking issue, number 350. It's a kind of a milestone issue. Like they usually do with Spawn, they make a bunch of variant covers. And this one right here that you see in front of you is the special one per comic book store that Todd Mcfarlane was actually going to sign. Let me skip ahead so you guys can see, here the red ink right there from Todd Mcfarlane, kind of in the white negative space that he actually signed right there. This, of course, was an incentive variant for stores that if they ordered 25 copies or more, they would also be getting one of these right here. And, the store exclusives, say what you will about them. I think that generally speaking, store exclusives are a net positive for stores themselves. I mean, it kind of puts them in a weird situation where they have to order 25 copies or however many copies, but it is a way for the store to pay for and offset all of those copies because you just sell to one whale customer. It's got an actual signature by Todd Mcfarlane on it, although that's not actually going to be gold labeled by CGC. We'll talk about that in a second. But it is kind of a nice sort of gift, if you want to call it that, to those retail stores. As long as they get one, they can sell it. And then essentially they're, operating at a cost of zero for the rest of the copies of Spawn 350. So, I understand that some of these things are good for the stores. Are they good for the people that buy them on the secondary market at a premium? Well, I'm not so sure about that one, but let's check in on some of these sales. Here you can see the numbers for this are wild right out of the gate. Here you see, last sold, $300 for this copy right here, $550 for this one, $379, $359, $375. I mean, guys, Todd Mcfarlane just prints money over there. He's got the Papa Pal. He is the Federal Reserve of the comic book market. This guy just makes a comic book, puts his signature on it, and then all of a sudden, it's into the hundreds of dollars of, value, which is crazy to me. I mean, let's think about this realistically. Like, what should the actual base value for this comic book be? I mean, you have an open order for cover A. You have to order 25 of them. So 25 times 5 is already 125. And then what does a Todd Mcfarlane signature actually go for at a comic book con? Like, what are we talking about? 120, 125, something like that. So bottom line, this is actually a $250 book. I mean, altogether, right? But you can already see it's already doubling that. hitting the $500 range, which is crazy to me because then you look at here and you look at the newly listed items. I mean, they're all starting to kind of roll in, some of these asking prices $350, and then you have a live auction one with 4 bids already at $350. It's like, why don't you guys just buy this one? Is this one a near mint? I mean, what's going on here? And this is kind of what's so interesting about this, the volatility. I mean, here's another auction one already at $300 with 4 bids on it. But then you have this one right here, $374. Well, I guess it has $25 Canada shipping. But you know what I mean? I mean, here's a $409 best offer, but then you could just probably offer him $300. I mean, they probably would take it. Although you got to be a little bit suspicious of the scans. You want to see the actual comic book. Actually, that's something that we should talk about here, guys. When you're buying some of these types of things and, you're doing the pre-orders, make sure that you see the actual scans versus sort of the stock image, because you never know. I mean, what if they sell you the stock image and they call it a near mint, but then it's got like a bunch of spine ticks on it? You want to know that you're getting the book that you are actually bidding on, which I guess is why, the ones that have the listings where, you can look at this and say like, yeah, that looks like a 9.8. I mean, spine seems fine. There's the signature right there. Looks like a good one. Too bad CGC won't be able to verify it, but we don't care about that. We can go to CBCS and they can verify it. This is going to be a very, very popular CBCS book. But either way, I think it's really interesting. You have these auctions going on and there's lots of bids on this. I mean, it's feeling like the floor is, pretty well into the $350 level. So already $100 over the sort of wholesale value. And I think that that is incredible. And it looks like this is going to be sort of that new kind of hot book, that hot spawn book, of the week, if not, of the month. But do we really think that this is one that's going to hold its value for the long haul? I mean, probably not, because there's always going to be another spawn book. There's always going to be another amazing record-breaking issue. I mean, when we get to issue number 400, and that's the new record-breaking issue, and they have the new retailer one per store, I mean, isn't that going to be the most hyped book in the market? But what do I know? I'm not a spawn collector. Let me know in the comments if you're a spawn collector. Tell me what it is. Because I feel like spawn collectors are kind of a different breed of collector. Like, they love their spawn books. Spawn collectors are hardcore. And I feel like there's a lot of spawn keys that really have held up well, given everything going on in the, pullbacks of the comic book market. I mean, I think there's some like the gunslinger, variants and things like that, of the Spawn comic book, archives that people really love. I mean, there's definitely, some mega keys in the Spawn universe. It's just a question of, is this one going to be the next one? I'm not so sure. But you know what one was the next one, or at least in theory was the next one, is of course our favorite one here, the Spawn 306 Nether Realm variant. You guys know what this one is, right? You guys remember when I did the coverage of this where, the found inventory was put for $1 starts on eBay, blowing them out to see what the actual, value of them would be. Well, I thought it'd be interesting, using this moment to revisit it here on the channel and see where we're at. What is this thing selling for today? Well, let's go down. 9.8, 30-day moving, $425. $425?
Emotional damage.
149 universal copies, 110 9/8. That's a pretty good 9/8 rate. I mean, that's not a lot of copies overall. I mean, what would you guys consider, a modern book that has a lot of copies? I mean, 500, 1,000? 149 is not too many, but 110 of the 149 all hitting 9/8 is, I mean, these books were preserved pretty well, but you guys can see, I mean, look at these last few sales, 400 slash price of 400, 450 slash price 499 slash price 498, 350, someone got a steal. Or did they? Maybe that's the actual value. 433, 600. I mean, let's go back, guys. Remember what this book was selling for at one point. I mean, can we find the moment when all of them hit eBay? Even the liquidation sale at that point was still around the $898, $950, $813, $803. And that was in August of 2023. If I go over to the comic book index and kind of see where we were in August, I mean, we were definitely at higher levels than where we are today. So on the one hand, you could sort of say like, well, yeah, there was always going to be a pullback. But, if I'm looking at the graph and then I'm thinking like this went from 950 down to where it is now, 400. I mean, that's a 50% drop. I mean, even our comic book index has not dropped 50% since August. So this one has really taken a beating, and that was like, a hype moment when all of them were hitting the market right there. But what's crazy about that is when those hit the market, it actually went higher. It went to the $1,000 range. It went $1,100, $1,500 just a month later, in September. $1,500. It looked like this book was back going at that $1,500 price point. And then it started to sort of bleed out. I mean, we had a lot of sales, $1,600, $1,800, slash price of $2,000, $1,515. And then all of a sudden, the auction started to go. Look at the auctions here, $690, $610, $568. And then started to bleed out. It was the auctions. So people were getting those fixed price numbers at $1,500, but the auctions really, really killed them. And this is one of the problems with this book is, maybe you could still get someone to do a buy it now of the, $500 price point or whatever it is, if people remember that this was, the book to get, or it's a hype book or whatever. But as soon as they, are out of sight, out of mind, and you have a $1 start for an auction, I mean, just no one's going to think to buy it. No one's going to be following these books. And that's what happens. It's not that there isn't someone that wouldn't want to pay for it. Well, maybe the auction does prove that. But just what happens is as soon as the FOMO's done, as soon as the hype is over, everyone moves on to the next thing, the next Spawn book, the record-breaking 351 one per store issue. And that's always the concern you got to have with, books like this that come out. They're hype. It's right now. I want it now. It just came out. $500. Let's go. I mean, at the end of the day, it does have Todd Mcfarlane's signature on it. So that's worth something, right? I mean, you're not going to get a Todd McFarlane signed book for less than $200, I think. So, $250 probably seems like the floor. But then people are wondering, this guy was actually asking on the comic book forums, like, hey, will CGC give this a gold label? The answer to that question is no. They're not going to give it a gold label. You're going to get the green label that says Todd McFarlane written on the cover. Although sometimes those green labels that have that aren't that bad because everyone knows what it is. Everyone can know that this was 100% signed by Todd McFarlane. I mean, you would think. Actually, there's probably somebody out there that could forge that signature. But then they wouldn't have it because it's one per store. So how would they get a copy of this thing? Unless there are other copies out there, which again makes the modern market so tricky and so confusing. That might be a hot CBCS book. That might be the one to send to CBCS. Get verified, get the new label, new gold CBCS label. Those look really good. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. That was me covering the new hot book over the course of this past weekend. What do you guys think about the one per retail stores? For what I know about the one per stores, they very, very rarely hold up value on the secondary market. If you really, really want it, you can wait a little bit. But hey, it's a great way to support your local comic store. It's a great way to support retailers that, need support, especially in this current market. And, it's a nice little gift for them to sell to someone who's a mega Todd McFarlane or Spawn collector. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, follow the Kickstarter. I'll sign it. I won't charge Todd McFarlane prices. All right, that's all I got. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.